mythical scroll, the Emperor's Heresy. Issuing Emperor's Heresy, the Dawn of Heresy.
Hello, I'm Eightbound, and I bring you another video. Today we are doing another Emperor's Heresy. I will say this, I do apologize if I sound nasally or ill. I am. It is currently winter and I get absolutely crushed by sickness in this time, so do apologize. We are doing Chaos Grimnar. Starting this kitbash, I grab my bits. What I'm using is the old Logan Grimnar. The one on Stormrunner specifically. I am aware this is an out of production model, but I couldn't pass up when I got this model about a year in April. So today is currently what, July? Yeah, July. So I got a little one a few months ago. I saw it for a reasonable price and thought, hell, why not? So I bought it, and I've had this 8-bound burning a hole in my bits box for a while. So I thought, why not continue my 8-bound Space Wolves? So here we have Space Wolf, Chapter Master of the Wolf. Well, it's Wulfen Grimnar. Is it a crazy combination? No, but it is pretty cool. And it has given me a bunch of interesting bits. Now I take my Dremel and carve down the inside of Logan Grimnar's Terminator armor. Reason being is, I had two ideas. One is to actually place the Terminator chest plate on the Wulfen's body, or cut the Terminator armor up to place over the Wulfen body, like the armor of the Wulfen. Not Wulfen, 8-bound. What am I going on about? In the end, I couldn't get the Terminator gear to actually fit the way I wanted it, so I had to go the other option. But that's okay. I think it worked out better in the end, the way I went about it. Now I am going to have to damage this fur a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. And I will make some replacement and attempt to fix it in the end, but we will see. I take off these 8-bounds mouthy hood, I think it is. I'm not exactly sure what the whole maw collar is. I just think it looks cool, but I do take it off and I do start like comparing things properly and determine to a degree how I'm going to put it together. I start by like placing bits that are going to be like angle oriented specifically to it to see how it's going to fit. Again, this is where I'm still thinking I'm going to use the Terminator breastplate. I'll be dead honest, I don't use the breastplate at all. Oh, I said no, it's correct. Not at all. I use parts of the breastplate to decorate, I guess. I take the Grimnar's Terminator arm and remove the actual like Terminator arm from the bracer and the cables, so I can refit this to a Wulfen arm that's in a similar position, which is the arm I chose. Now, yes, there is a little bit of modification that needed, like a little bit of bending of the wires to get them to fit in properly, and a little bit of just trimming here and there. But other than that, it fit in pretty good in my book. And gave me that, like, angry, come at me bro stance I wanted. As again, this is an 8-bound Wulfen. Even though it's Grimnar, that rage, because he's an 8-bound, so he's going to be Khorne. So just that rage in him is perfect for this pose. It's just a screaming, angry werewolf. I did the same thing I did with the other arm to this arm. And if it is this one, I take away the hand, So I am left with the wrist-mounted bolter. And from that, I swap out the hand from the, well, standard hand to a Wulfen hand. Which then gives me this sort of monstrous feel to it. It did take me a bit to figure out how to get this bolter sitting, because I didn't have the instructions on hand. Because I didn't think I needed them. Recommendation: follow the instructions for parts that you do not understand. Or use pictures as guides. It helps so much. Now, I am aware that there's this massive gap between the shoulder pad, and the actual shoulder. I remedy this by using the chest plate. The Eightbound chest plate. That sort of fixes the problem, and using sprue glue, it kind of fills in the gaps. Again, I think I could have made, if I put a little bit more work into that chest plate, the Terminator chest plate, I think I could have gotten that to sit in there to a degree, but in the end I decided against it. I also decided I did decide to remove the belt buckle, which I understand some people are going to be a bit, I probably shouldn't have done, but I did because I wanted to keep that Cornate symbol on his belt buckle. To, again, symbolize this is a corn demon of Rus. Because if anyone hasn't seen it, I have a demon Prince Lehman Russ, which is my Chaos Demon Prince. I don't know, I'm delirious. It's currently late. Well, it's late. It's currently what? 4 AM. Gotta get to sleep. I've got TAFE tomorrow. Well, today. Damn. But yeah, I just try my best to keep as much as the chaosy feel to this model, which will be more held into the fact that I'm doing the paint this as the Heresy color scheme, because again, the Emperor's Heresy is if the Horus Heresy didn't stop but got like a second wind. So for the Daunian Heresy, for those who do not know, is that the Horus Heresy happened, but on the battle that wounded the Emperor and wounded Horus, the Chaos Gods left Horus, just outright abandoned him, and then invaded the Emperor during his time of that little time where he is injured, he is wounded, he's not all there in the mind, giving the Chaos Gods the perfect opportunity to invade and corrupt. Now, doing so, every Primarch that was a part of the Chaos factions were released as well, along with their sons. The corruption just went away. All of a sudden, corruption just disappeared for a few centuries. Only for the Emperor himself to be instead placed on the Golden Throne, put inside a Telemon Heavy Dreadnought, is a way to try and preserve his body and get him back on the battlefield, to inspire humanity to fight more. What I'm doing right now on the video is I'm taking chunks of Grimnar's Terminator chestplate and sort of integrating it into the Eightbound chestplate. I lose one half of it, so I have to replace it with a little Wulfen medallion thing. But yeah, the Emperor is inside a Telemon Dreadnought healing to a degree. By the end of that, they have made the biggest mistake in the Heresy ever. They had given the Chaos Gods the time to corrupt him fully. All 4 Chaos Gods were inside the Emperor while he is inside of a Telemon Dreadnought, causing a chain reaction that the Emperor's flesh suddenly rapidly grew, bulging at the armor, bursting free, revealing 2 extra arms. This is when the Emperor fell, and started the new heresy. The Emperor's Heresy. If you want more lore on this, I have a whole series on my channel. I highly recommend checking it out. I've done some crazy Primarch kit bashes. So far I've done Lionel Johnson, Fulgrim, Conrad Kurz, Horus, Lupercal, Grabute Gilliman, Sanguinius, and that is it so far, I believe. I think I did I? And of course, the Chaos Emperor himself. That does leave me with a fair few suns I gotta do, but we're getting there. So far, I haven't found models that I feel comfortable doing the other ones with, so we'll see how we go. Picking up where I left off, I am currently carving out the back end, or the backside of one of Grimnar's Terminator shins. As I'm going to take a Dremel to it, hollow this thing out. The blue tack was probably not the best idea, but it did work for a degree. But yeah, hollow it out so I can then graft it onto the original 8-bound leg, giving me that very chaosy feel, but also still keeping to the original model. If anyone's ever seen my kit bashes, I try my best. If I'm doing a character model, I try my best to keep them as close to the character is, but with my own spin on it. Now I do trim a little bit off the Grimnar's shin, and then this is how I graft it onto the 8-bound one. It is a little bit longer, but to me, I'm not too worried about that. It actually worked out pretty well in my book. But other than that, it worked out really well in my opinion, and I'm quite happy with it. Setting it in place, it was a little bit tall, but I can live with that. Placing Grimnar's head on the 8-bound properly, this gave me this really nice feel of like just giving him that imposing feel he has. This is where I'm starting to add little details like chains. I like the idea of the smaller chains being blown in the wind where the bigger ones are slightly being shifted. Because again, chain size means a lot, because big chains won't move as much as little chains will. So I like this dramatic difference between like the material. One's like heavy iron, the other one's like, well, probably iron probably still, but lighter, because it's got less mass, so it's not as, yeah. It makes sense if you look at it from material wise and like the thickness and all that, it makes sense. And then I spend the next, well, I go consult my bits box and other things, just trying to get furs that I can use for this model. I find this one from the, I believe it was from the Terminator, Spaceful Terminator Guard, I think it is. Is it Terminator Guard? I actually have the box here. What are they? Not head takers, I know that much. They are Wolfguard Terminators, that's it. I use them to sort of give me this extra little bit of fur and this little trinket. So again, sort of push that the Space Wolf aesthetic more, even though anyone that looks at this model will immediately recognize the head to a degree, or the axe at least, and then the iconography on it as a Space Wolf. But it's still one of my, I still wanted to keep that fur pelt look, especially on the shoulder, because I did have to remove some of it and it damaged it. So now we just have extra furs here and there, and I'm very happy with it. Again, here's where I put that Wulfen medallion trinket. I don't know what it is exactly. I think they're just trophies, but yeah. Logan Grimnar as a Wulfen 8-bound. Surprisingly, he compares quite well to a Terminator and a 8-bound. He's a bit hunched over, so he's not as tall normally, but it does work really nicely. Now let's get into the painting of this. This is where the fun begins. Army Painter Fur Brown. I use this for the skin. You will notice the contrast is very high. That is solely so you can see the details as I paint. Now, I do not do the shins in the fleshy tone. I actually do change those to grey. But the flesh gets fur brown for a start. And I won't really touch the fur for the flesh for a while. Model Air Ivory. I use this for the base coat of the furs. Well, pretty much all the furs on the model. Trying my best to match the box art's fur pattern. Is it perfect? No. Does it work? It works well enough in my book, which I'm happy with. Though I do apologize that it is tricky to see. Again, had to do this high contrast just so you can actually see the model, because white is a really difficult color to paint and like record. Army Painter Matte Black Model Color White Glaze. I use this as a very dark grey, greyish black, and start working on the armor. This is where I determine that it's like better to keep the lower parts of the legs armor and the upper parts semi-armored with like the chaosy trim inside the flesh somehow. I think it's metal flesh, is it? I can't remember. Add more model color white glaze to lighten up the blacks to a more greyish tone, and then we're going to repeat this a couple of times just to get that nice greyish texture. Trying my best to keep the highlights to the highest point and not go too overboard, because I tend to do that quite a bit. Anyone that's ever seen my channel knows that I struggle with colours. I am shade blind, so this stuff does make it a little bit tricky. Add more model color aged white glaze. There is not much to this part. It is, again, I'm trying to just highlight everything, but slowly limiting the areas I paint and slight angles to it, so it is a bit of a odd one. Add more white glaze. Again, it is pretty. I know I could have probably glossed over these areas, but again, these are important steps for a lot of people, like just to understand. I do a few layers just to get me that highlight. These are all quite heavily watered down, so they are sort of a glaze wash situation, more of a glaze than anything, to sort of tint the higher areas and not go too crazy. But and then add more white glaze again, but this time using a 0.000 brush, a fine tip one, to sort of establish highlights, extreme highlights to this model. Again, I will say this, I am not a great painter. I will absolutely admit that any day. But I do enjoy doing these single models, especially character ones, because they are just good practice. If you're ever wanting to practice anything, do it. Army Painter Shiny Silver. I use this for the metallics, which is the chains, the Crux Terminatus, the Wolf Crux Terminatus on the shin, leg armor. Anything metallic gets it. The shoulder pad one, parts of the head. I do change those ones, I believe. Yeah, I do. I'm pretty sure I changed those colors to bronze. And like any trinkets get it. Then using Army Painter Matte Black Model Color White Glaze. This time using white glaze more than black to give me this nice bright, well, this brighter stone color to start basing these rocks. I do start as trying to establish a sort of profile I want for, like, say this rock is larger than it looks and it goes deeper under the water or under the ice, because that's the idea of the base. Army Painter Weapon Bronze. I use this for the trim to give me that chaosy vibe. I did this with my last Wulfen 8-bound, and honestly, it looks so good. This dark grey and this very nice bronze color. It just worked really well in my book. So I thought, why not keep keep that color scheme going for these guys. Well, for this character exactly. So I don't do anything too crazy. Army Painter Barbarian Flesh. I use this to highlight the flesh. Simple as that. To give him that more Arctic Caucasian. Is it Caucasian? How it's pronounced? White fella. I don't know. Some white. It's supposed to be brighter. I'm trying to mimic what you see when you're in the Arctics. A lot of people are a lot whiter because there's. It is just how it is. I don't know the scientific terms for it, but yeah. Army Painter Uniform Grey. I use this for his beard and his hair. So start highlighting that stuff. I do it on his claws, but I do change those out for bone coloured ones. So they look nicer in my opinion. I also use it as a slight highlight for the bits in here and there. And then come at it again with it to sort of establish that white colour again. Then using Army Painter Leather Brown, I start stippling this with a sponge on the cape to sort of establish, again, Grimnar's fur pattern for his pelt. And since I enjoyed this model so much, I am looking into, because I still have the Storm Rider, I am looking into potentially getting the modern Logan Grimnar, and I might do a sort of conversion with that. Citadel Base Dryad Bark. I use this to darken the central parts of the cape. Again, trying to mimic that texture change that the Grimnar's cape does have. I do try my best. Is it my best work? Probably not. It is a good go at it, and it definitely has given me an idea of what I need to do to get better at it. But in the end, it is a really nice cape. Army Painter Matte Black. I usually brush to stipple this in and slowly work it out. Again, not my best work. It is still very rough. So you could definitely refine this more, but it is a great start. And it genuinely looks really nice in my opinion. For as quick as it was to do, it worked really well. Army Painter Ash Grey. I use this to highlight the hair. His fur, well, I say fur, his hair. Trying to attack certain highlighted areas, certain points, just try and get it everywhere. Make it look nice. Then I also use it for his runes. Nothing too crazy here, just to kind of point out where things are, and then using Citadel Dryad Bark to hit the leathers and the teeth and anything that's bony. This will give me a nice base coat to start working on the, well, bony textures I want to work on. Also, I really enjoyed the way these like spikes on his legs turned out. Model cover white glaze. I use this very carefully just to give the eyes of the like wolf head on his head and his own eyes just a dot of white, and I used it to sort of dry brush very loosely over his fur, over his hair. I keep calling it fur, I don't know why. Space Wolves, they always have fur. But yeah, just slightly just to highlight it to its max, and then using Army Painter and Model Air US Desert Armor to start base coating anything that's bone. I do leave the spikes on the, like, ankle? Is it? I think it'd be the ankle, isn't it? I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I just use that to sort of... I leave the ankles alone because they're fine the way they are. But I use this US Army Desert Armor to just sort of establish that nice bony texture, and then using Citadel Contrast Blood Angels Red, dripping this into the recesses of the wolf's head. And then some of the gems, they get red. Well, correction, all the gems get red. I just missed a few because I am blind. I'm not afraid to say it. I am sort of blind at times. I am not the most observant person. We will say that. Model Air Ivory. This is a bony highlight. Try my best to keep it to certain areas just to keep the contrast nice, to keep it all looking good. Am I going for realism? Not really. I mean, it looks alright as it is, but this is where I start working on those fingers. The Wulfen fingers and stuff, just giving them highlights too. Pretty simple stuff, nothing too crazy. Game color, fluorescent orange. I use this to start working on that heating, chaosy vibe that Grimnar's axe does. I forget the name of the axe. What is Grimnar's axe called again? Game color, fluorescent orange, aka acrylic color, black red. I just do this again. Establish that transition. Morkai, that's it. I knew it was a Nordic term, but I couldn't remember what it was. AK acrylic color, black red. I use this to sort of finish off this little transition. The top looks far better than the bottom. I'll admit that. But to be fair, you don't really see the bottom. So, and I'm using again the AK red, black red again on the sigils, the wolves on the armor. I'm seeing that in my Emperor's Heresy, every chapter of the Space Wolves, AK acrylic color, volcanic yellow. Every chapter of the Space Wolves are just war bands from the Space Wolves. So they all work together to a degree, but in the end they are individual entities under the same bean seed. So that's why Grimnar is having these chapter icons on him, because he's like the unifier, I guess, to a degree. The one that brings all the war bands together to fight. Citadel base, Bracknar Burgundy, and model color or white glaze. The handle is originally Bracknar Burgundy. I do not know why I did not have any footage of that. I could not find that. I may not have even filmed it. That's my bad. But if I did, I have no idea where it is. That is on me. I do apologize. Citadel Contrast Frost Heart. Using this quite intensely on the base, I guess is the best way to go about it. Just to sort of get that idea of what's going on. I do have a few mishaps and I try working with it later. That's on me for being stupid, but that's fine. I didn't let it dry completely because it is, again, winter, so it takes significantly longer for things to dry down here, which is annoying, but is what it is. Citadel base, Bracknar, no, not Bracknar, Dryad Bark, that's it. I used to start highlighting, well not highlighting, but washing down features, details, just give me that nice contrast, I guess is the best way to put it. Bring back that dark, saturated feel, and sort of make certain details pop, and give them that, like, attention that it deserves. That is let's get into the fun one. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you guys have enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell and never miss another video. That's right. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. And if you have more ideas for the Emperor's Heresy or any Chaos conversions you have ideas on, please let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to hear some ideas.